within yourself, the undiscovered truth lies hid in you, the very goal you seek. And though your quest should lead through lands afar, you will return and find truth where you are. As we settle into silence even deeper, I invite you to contemplate this affirmation. My inward journey and my outward experience are in perfect alignment. I know the presence of God, that which I call divine spirit, that which I name initial cause, allness, the one sacred and holy, beautiful energy, creator of all that is. God is all there is. And I know that every being, everything that lives and breathes, everything that moves upon this earth, everything that twinkles and is brilliant, that floats, that soars, that is presently existing and multiplying and growing in the infinite universe, it is God. Within and without, all are part of this divine spirit. And so I know that today unfolds perfectly throughout all dimensions and in every direction, inside and out, stirring the hearts and inspiration within every body. Everything that there is thriving, growing, and glowing. This is nature at its very best, constantly moving, growing, changing, creating. And what is being created is reverberating as love, as peace, as grace, as the infinite divine principle of life. And so knowing this, I am grateful for the connection, heart to heart, with the ability that is available to connect with everyone across the world through the internet, through the music that is sung and played here today in the Om Sanctuary. Eternally grateful am I for the wise words and the inspirational message given by Reverend Suzette. Grateful am I for the community of love that continually grows and expands here and throughout all the world. It is eternal, it is life, it is good. I call it good, and together I say, and so it is. I personally would like to introduce you once again to the magic music and the lovely artist known as Lesley Alexander. Please give her a round of welcome.
Thank you. If you know the song, please sing along with me. I always say the more voices, the better. There was a time in my life when I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling to make it through another day, You've got to let it go. You've got to let it go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Thank you.
Byers song, yeah?
What's that?
Is that a Ricky Byers song?
That is a Ricky Byers song.
Ricky Byers,
Love
all
it.
right.
Love it.
Yay. Bring that down so you can see me through all this, you know. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
It's an interesting topic today, so I'm glad you're here because you're meant to be here to hear what I have to say so that your life is going to be enriched forever. Sound good? So, and we have a little entertainment in the back called Forrest, but we're asking him not to run. There you go. Ha ha ha. You like that? Ha ha ha. Okay. All right. So the topic today is the inner and outer spectrum. And, you know, when I was thinking about spectrum, I was thinking of light. How does this have anything to do with light? And then I thought, well, let me think about emotion spectrum. And all of a sudden, things just popped right up on the internet. So today is about creating balance between your inner thought and your outer experience. That's a spectrum. And then all we've got in there too, because it's who we are, moving through all of our affairs. So he's back there. Okay, good. He was a little active a minute ago. So here's what I was talking about. Look at that spectrum. Isn't that something? It goes away all the way from enlightenment down to shame, being the lowest. Now, that's a pretty cool looking image. But what I want you to notice is on the left side, the megahertz vibration. And I show you this because I think it's important for us to realize that we're at different vibrations during the day. And like you're here today, you're probably at a little higher vibration because you know I'm going to be around all these high vibration people. And therefore, you feel joy, you feel love, you feel peace when you walk into a place like home. Now, that's all good and fine, but I don't know about you. Did anybody have anything come up last week? Any small little activity of disagreement of any sort? Yeah. So I show you this because we actually have two spectrums. We have a spectrum on our inside and a spectrum on the outside. So, wrong way. There you go. What I want you to do right now is think about that thing that happened this week and ask yourself, where were you on the left side on my inner? Where was I on the inner spectrum? And how was I on the outer spectrum? Was it balanced? Or was it like this? Did you feel guilty or shame or apathy, or were you in fear and so you didn't do something on the outside? Or did you react? Because that's what happens. If we're really in balance, we respond. If we're not in balance, we react. Very important things to know. So, I'm going to offer you some ideas around this today. So that possibly by visually seeing this, hearing about it, you start to bring your, what I call even keel. You bring it into balance. Everything is into balance. So I want to ask you some questions. This may be now questions, or maybe what happened last week, or maybe it's in the future. But I want you to think about these things. What are the ways that you detect if your inner and outer spectrum are out of alignment? Don't tell me, just think about it. What are 3 actions that you could take to bring them into an alignment? Again, just think about it. Are there opportunities for growth within the inner and outer spectrum? Yes. What is the biggest lesson maybe that you learned last week about the inner and the outer? And is there other calibrations that are needed to explore that landscape? Are there other things you need to think about, which we don't normally think about? See, here's the thing that we know. The inner, our inner, some people call it an ego, or you call it a spectrum, or you call it inner knower. And the outer, who we are on the outside, coexist. We just do. They never go away. They're never going to go away. They stay with you forever and ever. And even when you move on, it's still with you. There's something with you. And the other part is we cannot have one without the other. So you're going to express or respond one way or the other. They are just inside of us. And I don't think that we really think about that. We just think, oh, we're just doing this, right? Oh, this just happened. I'm just going to respond. Oh, no, I feel this way, right? It's like we never, at least I didn't think about it that way until I really started doing my own work. Once I did my own work, then what happened was, oh, that's what's going on. Oh, discovery. That's why that memory of my stepmother comes up for me, because I get angry, and that's who created that. And now I have to look at that. And so how am I going to respond? It's those kinds of things. We don't necessarily look at that. And yet, I don't know about you, but sometimes mine seems to operate independently. Anybody here been in a relationship and you broke up with them and it felt like your life fell apart? Come on, there's got to be more than one in here. All of us, right? At some point we have had an experience where things just shifted and it was not very pretty. And when that happens, our spectrums change. Our spectrums, for me anyway, I'll say, was really down in the, well, let's see, where was I? I was in the grief. I was in a lot of fear. And probably some shame because of the way I handled things. But yet I was out there in the world trying to portray myself as being stable, not guilty. I did it the right way. I'm peaceful. Can you relate to that? Everybody get that? It's important you get this because that's really out of alignment. That's way out of alignment. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's an awareness. It's an awareness. And also during that time, as I, for myself, went through this whole process, I thought, well, the light is good. If I'm in the light, I'm good. Hi, light. If I'm in the dark, it must be awful. It must be mysterious. That means I'm going to be in pain if I'm in the dark. But the truth is, it's all good. Now that sounds weird, doesn't it? It's all good. Why it's all good is that when these are working together, they create synergy. They create power. They create empowerment. When they're like this, that just it's just an awareness that they are like that. And how do we bring it back? How do we bring them back into a balance? See, we are spiritual beings on this earth to do our good. And we have to understand ourselves. How do we move that into a place where it's easier? I don't know about you, but I'm usually pretty even keel, right? I'm usually pretty even keel. But there are times when I'm not, and I have an example. Our beloved puppy on Friday had to go to the vet and be fixed. And so when I took him in, he was fun, because he likes to be in my car, everything's fine. And then he took him away and they took care of him. And then when I picked him up, he was drowsy, that lovey, lovey place. Now, I'll tell you why this is important in a minute. But then when he really woke up as a little terror. He was like an alligator. I mean, I was like, oh my God, who is that? And he's been like that for a few days, up until today. And I thought, why? And what happened is, I thought he was just going to be sedated and he'd be fine and I can go along and I'll just be with him. But when he became a terror, it was like, he's out of control and I don't know how to handle him, right? He's just a puppy. Puppies don't know anything, do they? No, they do. Anyway, I got really frustrated. So the worse he got, the worse I got. Now, there was no joy in that. There was a little bit of anger, a lot of anger actually. But I'll show you my hands. He was biting me. It was really, really not very good. So I had to sit back and go, okay, what's going on here? Now, I'll get into this other part in a minute, but what was going on is that I was not communicating well to him. And because of that, he was acting out even more. The other thing is, his activities began every day with about a half hour to a half a mile walk. What do you think that does to a puppy? Brings him down, quiets him down. He eats, goes to eat. And then he plays a little bit, just a little bit. Then he goes to sleep. He will sleep probably for a good hour. Then he'll eat some more. That's lunchtime. He'll play some more. He'll go back to sleep. It's that constant turning of the wheel. He didn't have any of that day. So while he was finally gone to sleep, just so happened, God is so perfect, just so happens on my email was a video on how do you train your puppy. I swear, I could not believe it was there, right? Thank you, God. It's still on there because I almost lost it. So I thought, okay, I need this because I need to calm down. And what I figured out by doing that, by watching the video, I only watched it for maybe 15 minutes, but it was enough information that it took me from that place of anger, which is 150 megahertz, to peace, which was 600. Huge shift. And then from there, we started to have a new language of down, or come, or sit. Now, not that I need to train him, but there are times when puppies you don't want them to bite you, right? Like on the face. Yeah. I woke up, was it this morning? It was getting my nose. I'm like, no, not the nose! Anyway, you get my point? Now, he's the story, but I'm the one that had to figure it out. He's just a baby. The other part of that is he's the other one. And if you were in any kind of conflict last week, what you have to know is they may or may not have control, but we do. So knowing where we are on the spectrum really makes a huge difference. And I want to say, I can't get over there and point it to you. I need a little pointer. Do I have a pointer here? I think I do. Yeah. I do have a pointer. Can you see that? You can't see that. You can't see it. Yeah, we can. Can you? Okay, well, I can't see where it's at. Anyway, you don't have to go from fear and anger all the way up to the top. We try to go that way, and it's not always possible. Sometimes you have to just take one step at a time. I like to be in the spectrum of neutrality. It's like we said something about fault today, about something. It's not important to me. To me, it's neutral. There's no fault ever. It just is what it is, right? That nice t-shirt we're going to make someday. Okay. So we're going to talk about three different things. We're going to talk about...
No. Go back a little bit, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Come on. The lights are not- Sorry.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
So there are the questions. We're going to talk about three different things today. We all have a process center. In other words, we all have a way to process this. We're not alone in this. Everybody has this. It's a matter of, do we consciously use it or not use it? Second thing is authenticity matters. What I mean by that is we have to be authentic with ourselves. We have to be able to say, oh, I did that, I know that, okay, fine, I'm going to move on. And the third one is the great both and. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you in a minute. So, we're going to start out with a little story from Thich Nhat Hanh, and it's called Releasing Your Cows. I love how these things just show up in my face. Okay. One day the Buddha was sitting in the forest with a number of monks when a peasant came by. He had just lost his cows. They had run away. He asked the monks whether they had seen the cows passing by. The Buddha said, "No, we haven't seen your cows passing through here. You may have to go look for them in another direction." When the farmer had gone, the Buddha turned to his monks and smiled and said, "Dear friends, you should be very happy you don't have to have any cows to lose." And then he goes to say this: one practice we can do is to take a piece of paper, write down the names of our cows. Then we can look deeply to see whether we're capable of releasing some of them. We may have thought these things were crucial to our well-being, but if we look deeply, we may realize that they are the obstacles to our true joy and happiness. So he's saying, go find your cows. Cows are the things that get in your way. Cows are the things that do not serve you anymore. Go get rid of your cows. It's interesting, during the week, yesterday, I did take him for a walk. I'm like, you're going for a walk whether you like it or not. And, actually, let me say, I took Bodie for a walk. Bodie needed a rest. And there's a lady that has I don't know, it's a dog story today thing, but has a dog that Bodie plays with, which is good because she needed to also get rid of some stuff on the spectrum. But this woman kept talking to me about devotion. Devotion. I thought, that's not a word we use very often. But her devotion was to her daily reading. Her devotion was to constantly better herself, reading her Bible. She's obviously a Christian. And I thought, wow, I'm going to use that word today. So today, the devotion is to understand our unconscious, our subconscious, our thoughts, and our action. It's to really be devoted to that. I'm so trained now that when I get into that place, I go right into what's going on. But I don't know that we do that naturally. I think sometimes we just like, just get away from me, leave me alone, I want to deal with this. But we have to become conscious of how we sabotage ourselves. Did anybody sabotage themselves this week? I got told that I did. And I said, you're absolutely right. Like, you can't be that with the dog. I'm like, okay, I know, I hear. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good. But we do that. And it's sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not. What we have to remember is we have to look inside, search our inventory. focus on what happened and how we want to shift. That's what I did when I realized that, this isn't working with the puppy. So I had to look inside myself, what is it I need to do to fix that for me? And once I did, guess what he did? He was calm. I had to be quiet. I had to shut my mouth, not yell at him. Instead say, come here, come here. The more calm I am, the more he is. He's really a great traveler, too. He sits on the passenger seat and he puts his head up there and I get to pet him. We also have to be aware of what I would say negative thoughts. During this whole time, I'm in my tizzy about how am I going to fix this, right? And all those negative thoughts are coming up. When those are happening, that means I can't move to the peace. I can't move there. So I have to first manage my emotions, then move to the peace, then I can be that outwardly. Very, very important. I'm just going to read this. I just think it's a good statement. It is by practicing accountability, vulnerability, and honesty we can learn from healing from within. And I stand up here and tell you my stories, my faults, and I do that for you to realize that we're all perfect, whole, and complete just the way we are. We have those things. They just exist in us. But it doesn't make us a bad person. What it does is actually give you permission to forgive yourself. I had to forgive myself for being, all chewed up. But I had to do that. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with telling you. Because I know that we have to do that to ourselves too. Because we make mistakes. Anybody make a mistake? Yeah. Good, I'm not alone. All right. A couple times. Oh, thank you. That was very good of you to say that. So, authenticity matters. And that means that our outer experience is a reflection of our personal sense of expression. I'll say that again. Our outer experience is a reflection of our personal sense of expression. It's who we are. So I have another little story. It's called The Power of Receiving. I think somebody gave me that book. And the story is Be Spiritually Naked. Interesting, huh? Let's see how this works here. To be spiritually naked is to be self-revealing. It means that you don't just trot out the good, healing, and healthy parts of your personality when you are with people. It means that you express all of your vulnerability, clueless, hateful, depressed, lost, and lonely parts too. You include them in your conversation with others and with yourself. The reason for this is that if you embrace your wholeness, others will too. It's hard to relate to those who come across as if they are totally together, enlightened human beings. Instead, we love it when people come across as being just a human as we are. It creates a bond. We feel that we are with fellow travelers, a kindred spirit. When we are open and honest about who and we are, we're not only making a statement about our connection with everyone, but we're also making a declaration about our wholeness. And I'll keep going here. A sign of strength to be authentic. It takes courage to embrace all parts of ourselves and to share them with others. Once we are comfortable with being genuine, we seek out others who are ours as well. It is relaxing to be in the presence of an imperfect human being. So much easier. And I can remember times when I was really in a lot of personal pain, and whether it's physical or emotional. And I thought, when am I going to stop saying that story? When am I going to give that one up? And in one case, it took me 10 years. But I knew every time I did it, I was just letting go of something else, just letting go of something else, and just letting go of something else. That's why when you come here every Sunday or in a class or online, being authentic is just the most important thing you could ever be. Because we are giving permission to each other to recognize our wholeness and to love each other for our vulnerability. It's beautiful. I mean, I know when healing is taking place, when we do that for each other. And I don't know about you, but I just fall in love with you when that happens. It's, to me, just really important. So I have more questions. Again, don't answer me. Think about them. How authentic are you in expressing in the world, and does it match your inner spectrum? Does it match who you are? Are you honest with interacting about how you feel and what's really going on inside? Or are you tucking your emotions within yourself to show a good game, or good face to the outward world? Or are we dominating, controlling outwardly when really we're in fear about what's going on inside? There's something else going on. Or, and I have a story about this next one, do we feel safe to express what we're really feeling and fear on the inside that will be excluded, rejected, disconnected by others, or even by ourselves? So I'll give you the story about this. I don't know if I've said this several times, is that I seem to always be in these big meetings and I always bring out the elephant in the room. Don't you love that? So this last week on Tuesday, they had a ministers' meeting with the new spiritual leader. These meetings have always been, here's what we're doing, here's what we're doing, here's what we're doing, here's what we're doing. And to me, that's like boring, boring, boring. This leader did something totally different, and I was tremendously impressed. She said, this is a think tank. There's probably about 50 ministers. I want to know what you think it's going to take Science of Mind to move into the future. And I was like, oh my God, she has arrived. God has arrived. And so guess who was the very first person to speak? Me. And so I spoke probably 4 or 5 times. And I said things that I've said before. 2 people in rooms all over the place. In fact, the first thing I said was, I have been waiting for you to arrive. And so I said things that I thought were important. Like, you can't put it in the world if you don't put it on the internet. You don't do social media. I said things that were important. I said our practitioners are probably the most, we have 2,000 practitioners in our movement, and we don't use them to the fullness of who they are. We should be promoting them and helping them and growing them. I mean, I went into everything. So, but I did it in a way, because before my heart would beat so hard and I would just blurt out what needed to be said, but then there was never any resolution. This time I was in that spectrum. I'll show you where I was. Go back. I was in the spectrum of courage on the inside, and I would say reason and a lot of love on the outside. Wasn't quite 100%, but I knew what I was saying, because I could watch people's heads going like this, or going like this. Yeah! They were excited about what I had to say. And I wasn't there to impress anybody. It wasn't about me being big and bold in the whole group. It was about, this is who we are, and this is what we have to do, and this is what we do here. In fact, one of the things that I talked about, go back to this, I talked about how we just signed an agreement with Urban Street Angels, which most of you I talked about 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that Urban Street Angels is doing is that they're going to open up a print shop. Why is that important? Well, they're going to open the print shop up to help teach individuals how to be in business, how to have a job, how to be an employee, and do work in the community. And I just mentioned that, as that's what we're doing. We're working with them in different capacities. Guess what? I got a phone call. I got a phone call from home office saying, we had not thought about this before, but we're going to go 100%, I would say 95%, virtual. So they're all going to work from home and then come in for meetings and whatever. And as a result of that, we would like to farm out everything that all our copying and all this stuff. Do you think Urban Straight Angels might be interested in it? Yay, yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is because my vibration was higher, and it was not about trying to prove anything, it was about communicating, here's how we could be in the world. Here's how we could help people. Here's how we could take those that need support and those who have the means to work together. Because if it's virtual, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If they're doing mailings, they could do mailings from San Diego as well as they could do from Denver. So anyway, that's just an example of how taking where we don't feel safe and then finally getting to a place where we do feel safe and then moving to that so that we can make a difference. So anyway, I've emailed Jerry. I was hoping he'd be here today, but we're going to meet with them and start talking about that. In addition to the opportunity that's next door with the temporary housing. That's what that is next door, is temporary housing for families and some individuals. So it's kind of cool. Things are starting to move. And you'll be involved in it as we find out more. So anyway, the point here is that we have to work towards empowerment. By being authentic, even though it may feel really uncomfortable at times, being authentic is okay. And I'll just say this real quick thing. I can remember having very detailed, complicated conversations with a minister about my not being happy about something, right? And after I was done, I would always apologize, say, I'm sorry, I just, like an hour of me talking. And I would apologize. You know what she said to me? She says, everything you had to say was perfect. Even though she might have disagreed with me, she said it needed to be said. So that's another thing to remember. Sometimes it just needs to be said. It's not bad, it just is. All right, the last thing here is the great both and. Yeah. Our experiences operate from both spectrums at the same time. Each one of them have their joys and their pains. When I'm in pain, and that's an interesting word, but when I'm in pain, I used to be able to tolerate pain out to here. I can tolerate this much pain now. So my pain now becomes my measurement of I have to do something about it. Because I'm the only one that can. You can't change my pain. As much as I wish you would, but you can't. Maybe, but I'm the one. So the pain is now become my measurement. So when I realized that I was in that kind of pain over the little puppy, because I didn't want to hurt him, and even though he bit my hands, it didn't matter. I had to do something for me. And then the joys are also another part of that, the discovery of a program that will teach me how to help my dog and me. Made me feel better. Every time we do something like this, and obviously I'm talking about one little story, we gain more wisdom. And that's the wisdom that we should be giving away. So why God allowed me to be here to tell you this story is so I could give you that wisdom too. It's not about that I need anything from you. I want you to have the same peace that I created for myself. The other part about this bringing balance to the spectrum, inner and outer, is we are at choice. Oh, I hate that. We are at choice, whether we do it or not. And we also have the opportunity to be curious. I became curious when I needed to solve the small problem. And my hand's not getting bit up. But we have to realize we are at choice. And the last thing is that when we embrace both in inner and the outer, we start to live in integrity. We really do. And that feeling of integrity to me is is probably the most important feeling I want to have, because I want to know that I've done everything I can. It's partly why I tell you my stories, because I want you to know I'm just as human as you are. There's nothing different from me than you. I just happen to be moving in this direction a little bit deeper, but you're all very capable of the same thing. So one of my favorite authors, Joel Goldsmith, wrong one, said this. I'll read it from here. He said, in an individual way, God is expressing itself as you. And your ability is really the ability of God. Your activity is actually the activity of consciousness, life. And therefore, the responsibility for you is God responsibility. Gain this consciousness of God's presence, and you have the whole secret of success in every walk of life. So just realizing that we're connected to something greater can bring us that peace. I've had several people being in pain this last week, and there's a statement in the Science of Mind textbook that says, where the pain is, God is, therefore the pain can be obliterated. And when I first read that, I thought, well, that's interesting. How could that be? And so when I was teaching practitioner training years and years and years ago, I had a shoulder that had frozen. And it's very painful when any part of your body is frozen. So for 3 hours, I let somebody else teach, which I never let do. And I, for 3 hours in class, repeated that mantra into my body. And you know what? By the time I left that class, my arm was not frozen anymore. So it's about the devotion to doing this work, uncovering the things that are getting in the way, and not being afraid to be authentic about it. There's so much here. I mean, and knowing that we're divinely guided, and we are that expression in the world, no matter where we are. So I want to leave you with this. I just want you to honor both parts of you. But they're not really two, they're all one. Honor your wholeness. Honor your emotions. And then if you're stuck, okay, what can I do? Instead of going into that deep hole of, well, I have some pretty words I could say, but my point is don't go there. Don't go there. Instead, go to, okay, what do I have to do to make this better for me? I don't care about anybody else, but for me. When we become better and we become the expression that we want to be, providence moves. The path is lit. Things happen. We don't have to make it. We just have to be aware of our own needs. I think that's all I want to say. I do have a quote, so we'll do the quote today. This keeps getting in my hand here. That's all I'm going to do today. I think that's a lot. Do you think that's a lot? Yeah, it's a lot to understand about ourselves. And I've never really gone into that deep, but I think that it's important that we do know this. But this is the bottom line. This is where we're going. And is to know that our inward journey and outward experience are in alignment. So I'm going to repeat this 3 times. We do it first just to kind of whisper. When we're whispering, my opinion is we're speaking to our soul. When we speak normally, that's us, and we speak out loud, then it's to the world. And I'm going to cough. All right, so let's do it. Let's whisper this. My inward journey and outward experience are in perfect alignment. Speak it normally. My inward journey and outward experience are in perfect alignment. And let the world know. My inward journey and outward experiences are in perfect alignment. And so it is. Excuse me. Our beloved back up. Sorry. So let's close our eyes one moment as I take us into this place of knowing. Knowing that we are connected to God, the One, the infinite intelligence As Reverend Kathy used to say, the whole enchilada. It's all God. It's all one. It's all perfect. And as I know that truth of that absolute that is everywhere, ever presence, I know it is moving through each and every one of us. Moving in our hearts, in our veins, in our being, in our mind, in our actions. That we're connected at a cellular level that has never, ever, 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 ever gone away. It is always there. It is always there, and it's just a moment notice that we know that we're there. And so I know and accept today that all of us were here on purpose. To hear, to understand, and to grow. Knowing that our inner and outer, that we have control over that, and that the divine is moving through us to bring forth the good that we want to bring forth. That there's nothing dividing us. And so I bless each heart that has listened to this topic today, knowing that that's what needed to be heard. And that everything is in perfect order. So I release these words knowing it is done right here, right now. And so it is.
And so it is.
Amen. Let's bring back Lesley.
Lesley.
Yeah.